Across the nation right now, Toyota dealerships are turning away their allocations. They're turning away deliveries of these new Tacomas and new Tundras. They don't want them. This truck here is the biggest disappointment. I'm almost offended by how trashy this truck has become. It is no surprise to see that Toyota sales have plummeted nearly 25% since the beginning of September. You know, if they're not going to be built in the country of origin, which is Japan, of course, for Toyota, I am a firm believer of building them where you sell them. I'm a firm believer of that. You know, at least give jobs, give employment to Americans if you're going to be targeting Americans as the primary target demographic to sell these vehicles, right? Many of these fourth generation Toyota Tacomas, they're barely more fuel efficient than the previous outgoing naturally aspirated V6. But by them making smaller displacement motors, a 2.4 liter four-cylinder underneath the hood, turbocharger one, and hybridizing them, they get green credits or carbon credits from the government. They're government handouts. They're handouts from the government, but you as a taxpayer are totally paying for it. But if they give the optic of having low inventory, they can keep that price tag pretty high. I would confidently tell you that many of these TRD Off Roads and TRD Sports over here that are priced in the mid-50s, they should easily be $40,000, $38,000 to $40,000 tops. Right? And that's me kind of being generous based on what you're actually getting here. Now, not only does the new generation Toyota Tundra here look like a neutered version of the previous generation, you have that long front end that just kind of hangs over like an overbite. The turning radius on this is awful. It is awful. And that is, I mentioned that because the previous generation turn radius is phenomenal. Every single blue collar working class man that I know loves the idea of a four-banger mid-sized pickup truck. They love having just a little turbocharged four-cylinder like this one here, priced over $55,000 for this TRD Off Road in the solar octane color. But here we are, this is our new reality. And while people are clearly voting with their pocketbooks. Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So there used to be a time in the not so distant past where you used to go to your local Toyota dealership, buy a Toyota Tundra or buy a Toyota Tacoma, drive it for a few years, and then come time to trade it in, you would not lose your rear end because they had tremendous residual value. But I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, those days are long gone. This new fourth generation Toyota Tacoma that you see behind me is floundering. There's a reason why you see dozens behind me just sitting on this lot. This is a very common sight across the US right now. Same goes for the Toyota Tundra, and I would even wager the Tundra is a bit worse. So in today's video, I'll talk through the specific reasons why the Toyota Tacoma and the Toyota Tundra are no longer the resale kings, and then I'll wrap up with who has taken the throne. So stick with me. Now, I admit I beat up on the Toyota Tacoma and Tundra plenty on this channel, but rightfully so. We do need to see a change from Toyota for a number of reasons, and I'll talk through that in this video. The Tacoma here has come with a slew of issues with it, the biggest of which being the transmissions, right? We have seen so many faulty transmissions with this new generation Tacoma. We're talking with less than 1,000 miles on it. These things are failing. That is absolutely pathetic, and we should not expect that from Toyota, right? So pretty pathetic to see that, but moreover, the whole quality control issues that we're seeing. This front grille here is often loose. The interior rattles tremendously. A lot of road noise while you're driving down the street. It's just a lot of quality control issues with it, right? But then it begs the question, well, where is it made? It's made in Mexico, entirely out of Mexico. Toyota pushed production to Mexico because it's much cheaper to produce it there. They pay Mexicans about $2.70 an hour, whereas here in the US, they generally spend $17 an hour, roughly, right? Sometimes more for production line workers down in Texas. But for that reason, they save tremendously on labor costs, but well, they still hiked up the price 20 to 25% across the lineup here. Prices have gotten outrageous, right? I mean, the Toyota Tundra, we'll talk through that in a minute, but with the Tacoma in particular, so many of these TRD off-roads that you see behind me, so many of the TRD Sports are in the mid-50s. We're talking $54,000, $56,000 for a Toyota Tacoma, a mid-sized pickup truck. So because of that, it isn't too much of a surprise to see Toyota dealerships across the US discounting them $8,000 to $10,000. Can you believe that? Toyota dealerships are discounting this 10 grand right out of the gate. And this is a brand new generation, brand new model. You would think it would be successful, but we're not seeing that at all. When in Toyota's history have we ever seen them introduce a full new redesign and then quickly, within months, see dealerships have to drop the prices 8 to 10 grand just to move that inventory? We've never seen that. This is a huge red flag to Toyota, and I really hope that Toyota Corporate is listening. So here in front of me, we have a whole lineup of various trims. We have SR5 right here in front of me. I'll show you the price tag. We have a TRD Sport, a Limited here in the white, TRD Off Roads down here. But let me just show you, this is one example. I think this actually might be the most affordable example on the lot. This is an SR5, a Toyota Tacoma SR5 Once upon a time, you were able to go to a dealership and spend, $25,000 for this pickup truck. But now we're over 42 grand for a freaking SR5. I hate that they have just priced their target demographic, their target audience entirely out of the market, right? I mean, the Toyota Tacoma and the Tundra, I would argue, have always been a blue collar, working man's pickup truck, right? You can buy it, take it to the site, and not lose your rear end come resale time, but not spend so much on the front end, right? Spending 25 grand was realistic, but here we are, over 42 grand for this SR5. TRD Sport here, we're over $50,000, 55,000, just under 55,000 for that limited here, and several TRD Off Roads, 52 to 53 right here. Now, Toyota knows that the Toyota Tacoma and the Toyota Tundra have always been a blue collar working man's truck. They know that. But yet, they still decided to lessen the displacement size of the motor, strap turbochargers to it, hybridize it, because nothing sounds more blue collar quite like a 4-banger turbocharged hybrid Toyota Tacoma, right? Because every single blue collar working class man that I know loves the idea of a 4-banger mid-size pickup truck. They love having just a little turbocharged 4-cylinder like this one here, priced over $55,000 for this TRD Off Road in the solar octane color. But here we are, this is our new reality. And while people are clearly voting with their pocketbooks, the blue collar working class don't want this piece of crap. But even this is going to drop like a brick in residual value, but keep in mind there's not a lot on here. There's only one Sequoia on this entire lot. They just far less produced, and that kind of serves to this benefit a little bit, but we're still going to drop quite a bit. Let me remind you of just how stupid expensive these are, really. So over 83, just under $84,000 for this Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. Previously, buying a Toyota Sequoia didn't mean I would lose my rear on the resale, but let's face it, I likely will. CarMax just offered $71,000 for mine right there, and mine had the same exact MSRP because mine has a roof rack and then the panel roof, everything that this one has, mine does too. And well, I'm already 12 grand down just with a few thousand miles on it. Not only does the new generation Toyota Tundra here look like a neutered version of the previous generation, you have that long front end that just kind of hangs over like an overbite. The turning radius on this is awful. It is awful. And that is, I mentioned that because the previous generation turn radius is phenomenal. It's incredible. And this one is way worse. So that is a huge upset for so many people who do jump from the previous generation Tundra over to this new one here. I do love Lunar Rock. We get style points for that always. But let me remind you how much they cost. So we're over $66,000 for this particular example here. So this one's a limited. I just can't fathom spending that kind of coin for this particular truck, this particular trim especially. And let me real quickly point out, if this was the hybridized version of it, it would have the iForce Max badge right here. So this isn't even the best, quote unquote, best engine option that you can get for it. This is simply the twin turbo V6 version. For me, I like to see through corporations' BS, and Toyota definitely leans into it when it comes to chasing green credits or carbon credits. They like to virtue signal totally with saving the environment, saving the planet by making more fuel-efficient vehicles. Many of these 4th generation Toyota Tacomas, they're barely more fuel efficient than the previous outgoing, naturally aspirated V6. But by them making smaller displacement motors, a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder underneath the hood, turbocharger one, and hybridizing them, they get green credits or carbon credits from the government. They're government handouts. They're handouts from the government, but you as a taxpayer are totally paying for it. So just keep that in mind. Even if they don't sell that many, they're gonna collect dust and sit on lots across the nation. Even if they don't sell them, they're still getting those carbon credits for producing them. So keep that in mind. And perhaps the saddest part of it all is across the nation right now, Toyota dealerships are turning away their allocations. They're turning away deliveries of these new Tacomas and new Tundras. They don't want them. Because you see what you see behind me. They're just collecting dust, lining up, stacking up on lots, stacking up on their back lots, their overflow lots. They're at the point where they can't even hide the amount of inventory that they have. So they're turning away inventory, and while they're not even accepting them on trade, many dealerships are. Of course, I'm sure you can still get a trade figure, but it is going to be extremely bleak. Go look at the used market right now. Don't take it from me. Go look at the new generation Tundra, the new generation, I'll throw up some on the screen, new generation Tacoma here. They're fetching lousy numbers on the residual market right now because they can't even sell the new ones with a $10,000 discount. Why would anyone buy a used one? You want to know what would have been a great move for Toyota is if they moved production to Mexico, where they pay pennies on the dollar for the labor cost to build this Tacoma here, if they would have dropped the price. Imagine that. Imagine if they would have dropped the price compared to the previous generation. That would have been a huge, huge PR win for the company, right? If they just done that, because ultimately they're doing it right now. Well, they're getting to that point because they're having to slash the prices. Imagine if they would have just come out and priced them appropriately, priced them for what they're worth. Because I would confidently tell you that many of these TRD Off Roads and TRD Sports over here that are priced in the mid 50s, they should easily be $40,000, $38,000 to $40,000 tops. Right? And that's me kind of being generous based on what you're actually getting here. But instead, we're seeing Toyota dealerships slash prices, and it's just a black eye for the brand, right? Because we have never seen a Toyota dealership stacked up with Tundras and Tacomas in years past, but instead they overpriced it by $15,000, $20,000, and now they're just collecting dust, making it look terrible for the brand. Let's talk about the Toyota Tundra real quick. And obviously I beat it up plenty on the channel, but rightfully so. This truck here is the biggest disappointment. I'm almost offended by how trashy this truck has become, right? So this here, it is obviously suffering from that large safety recall affecting over 100,000 units, 2022 and 2023. I would still wager 24 is going to be sprinkled in there soon enough after they sell enough of them. But they have that main crankshaft bearing issue where debris was left in the engines upon production, right? And that in and of itself has given this Tundra a pretty big black eye. But if you recall my early videos, I tried this. I bought a brand new 2023 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. I tried it, right? I put my money where my mouth is. I'm trying it out, and I didn't love it at all. There's so many issues and so many gripes that I had with it at the time compared to the previous generation Tundra. You know, outside of the astronomical price tag, right? The turn radius sucked. Terrible quality control, fit and finish wasn't there. It just overall was a lackluster driving experience in my personal opinion. It felt synthetic. I did not love the twin turbo hybridized platform compared to the naturally aspirated V8. I may be alone on that to some degree, but I did not like it. And I actually beat up on this truck before it became popular opinion that it sucks. You know, if they're not going to be built in the country of origin, which is Japan, of course, for Toyota, I am a firm believer of building them where you sell them. I'm a firm believer of that. You know, at least give jobs, give employment to Americans if you're going to be targeting Americans as the primary target demographic to sell these vehicles, right? But no, we moved it to Mexico just so they can send them up over the border and milk us with these price tags, over $55,000 for this TRD Off Road. Pretty sickening. You know, a very common yet sleazy practice deployed by so many dealerships across the nation, Toyota being a primary offender of it, is dealerships like to use their overflow lots or their back lots to hide the majority of their inventory. By doing that, they can just put out a few examples of each vehicle, each type of vehicle, maybe one or two of each trim. That way they can kind of keep the sales figure high. Because what happens when you see 50 different Toyota Tundras right in front of you or 50 different Toyota Tacomas right in front of you, it gives the buyer a lot more room to negotiate, right? But if they give the optic of having low inventory, they can keep that price tag pretty high. Fortunately, this dealership does not do that. I want to make that clear. It is no surprise to see that Toyota sales have plummeted nearly 25% since the beginning of September. And that's going to continue to be the case as we move forward, I assure you. People who generally buy Toyota Tundras and Toyota Tacomas like simplicity. They like reliability and they like affordability, none of which that the new generations offer, unfortunately, right? They like knowing that they can pop the hood and actually work on their car, work on their vehicle. So what has dethroned Toyota pickup trucks? Well, a handful of vehicles have actually beat them out and are continuously beating them out on residual value. The Ford Ranger, the Ford Ranger Raptor, Ford Maverick, GMC Canyon, AT4X, Chevy Colorado, ZR2, Ford F-150 Raptor in particular. Nissan Frontier is actually performing better than that new generation Toyota Tacoma over there for a mid-size segment, if you could believe that. And although a very different segment, the Ford Super Duty is doing so much better with residual value compared to the Toyota Tundra. So we'll wrap up the video there, guys. Toyota pickup trucks are no longer the resale kings, right? And they won't be for the foreseeable future. They won't be so long as Toyota corporate is chasing government handouts and chasing green credits and carbon credits and not putting the needs and wants of the customer first like they always have. They're not doing that anymore. And well, it's abundantly clear because of what you're seeing behind me. This is a common sight across the US, and it will continue to be the case because people are fed up and they're voting with their pocketbooks. And I'm personally proud to see that across the nation. People have caught on and they're not falling victim to it. If you enjoy this type of content, as always, I sincerely appreciate it if you consider liking and subscribing. I always feel ugly asking a little bit, but your support does not go unnoticed, and I certainly appreciate it, guys. So thanks for watching. Till next time.